Good evening. My name is Jeanette Ramirez, and for my research topic, I focused on the city of Tenochtitlan and the Aztec life. There's a lot of mystery surrounding the exact origin of where exactly the Aztec people originated from. However, through their mythology as well as transcriptions of the Nahuatl language, there were three names that were most prevalent, which was the Aztecs, Mexica, and the Tenochtitlan. They're said to have originated from an island city known as Aslan, Land of the Cranes, or the Land of White Sand, and it was under the guidance of their first Tlatoani, their leader, Tanakh, and his priest that they were given instructions from the god of war, Huitzilopochtli, that their promised land would be found when they were able to identify an eagle atop of a cactus with a snake on its talon. This vision eventually came true in 1325 near the marshes of Lake Texcoco, and it was here that the name Tenochtitlan was given to this island. And Tenochtitlan derives from Tetlo, meaning rock, Nochli, the prickly pear, and Tlan being a locative suffix of the Nahuatl language. The construction of Tenochtitlan was very significant as this was an island in Lake Texcoco, and instead of being completely disillusioned from the surrounding waters, making it difficult for transportation and such, the Aztecs in turn used this island to its fullest potential by developing unique canal systems that would easily get them in and out of the city to its surrounding shores, using these same canal systems to tend to their crops, and of course easy access to fishing. Another significant thing that was developed here were chinampas, floating fields that were made out of mud and plants in these shallow waters that assisted them with being able to grow crops year round, such as beans, squash, chilies, flowers, and of course their staple crop, maize, or known as corn. Tenochtitlan was also built like in a grid-like system, which made housing simple and organized. And like the picture depicted on the left, they were single-room homes made out of wood and straws, in which these families were able to conduct their household activities and easy access to the canals for fishing and as well as tending to their chinampas. The Triple Alliance was a key event that occurred in 1428 under the rule of Itzcoatl, in which two of the neighboring cities joined together with Tenochtitlan to overthrow the Teponec Empire. These cities were known as Texcoco and Tlacopan, and after successfully conquering Teponec Empire, these cities were able to split the reward three ways, in which the Tlacopan would be gaining the western region of the Valley of Mexico, Texcoco would be gaining the eastern region, and Tenochtitlan gaining the north and south lands. This alliance was very significant as this was the turning point in which the Aztec Empire would continue to dominate other other lands and again reaping the rewards equally. However, Tenochtitlan would eventually become the dominant city, and which effectively made it the capital of the Aztec Empire. The Triple Alliance allowed overall growth of the Aztec Empire as far as land went. However, this also led to the expansion of the city of Tenochtitlan itself because it helped improve its infrastructure and also allowed it to build temples such as the key one, Templo Mayor. It was under the leadership of Ahuatzotl that Tenochtitlan renovated its buildings, canals, and streets to, of course, help with the flooding that was seen over the past several hundred years, but it also helped in growing their society. It was also here that large market systems were becoming more prevalent as the canal systems allowed for easier access to trades by having different artisans and merchants come and go into the city as well. The city of Tenochtitlan was divided into four sections, essentially representing the four cardinal directions, and with the center being left open as its sacred precinct. It was here that the construction of Templo Mayor took place. And the Templo Mayor was a four-sided pyramid with two shrines at the very top, one painted red for the god of sun and war, Huitzilopochtli, and the second shrine painted blue in honor of the god of rain, Tlaloc. In front of Templo Mayor was another circular temple in honor of the god Quetzalcoatl, the god of wind. It was here in Templo Mayor that the majority of the Aztec festivals, rituals, and of course human sacrifice took place, as this was a sacred precinct for them to honor their gods. The Aztecs took great pride in their work ethic and serving the empire and the importance of honoring their gods. So with each coming generation, they made sure that they would follow these same guidelines. Boys were expected to follow their father's footsteps by learning how to fish, take care of crops, and tending to household chores like fetching water and such. And girls were expected to follow their mother's footsteps by learning how to use a spindle, grind maize, make tortillas, and other domestic household chores. Once these children reached the age of 15, they would both attend schools separate by gender, known as Tepochcali for commoners and Calmecac for nobles, to learn their Aztec history, military training, and religious practices. The difference between the Tepochcali and the Calmec is that Tepochcali have focused heavily on military warfare, and in Calmec it was essential to learning the astrology, reading, writing, and such for when they took over leadership roles within the Aztec Empire. Overall, these schools were meant to instill discipline, pride in serving the empire, and making sure to continue their religious practices. The social structure was that the Tlatoani was the overall ruler of the city of Tenochtitlan and was expected to continue the expansion of the empire. The nobles were high-ranking military officials, priests, and governors that would oversee the small towns known as capulis. The majority of the Aztec Empire was filled of the Matswalan, the commoners, as they were the agriculturalists and lower-ranking warriors. Slaves, of course, were at the very bottom, and they were POWs or criminals for crimes that they committed within the empire. You could move up the social structure if you were depending on the bravery you displayed as a soldier for the Aztec Empire, or if your family was like artisans or merchants with pottery, arts, and such, you were just as important because those were staple points of the Aztec culture because you developed like paintings, pottery, and stuff like that in honor of their Aztec gods. The founding of the city of Tenochtitlan was very important as this was essentially the birthplace of the Aztec Empire and its lasting influence in Mesoamerican history. With the development of the Chinampas, the complex canal system, and the architectural structures were what made the Aztec Empire thrive agriculturally, economically through trade, and again, the significant structures that are still being found today left a lasting impression. Again, the Aztec Empire left behind a rich culture, history, and way of life that has actually helped shape what is modern day Mexico, as some traditions are still practiced today. Even the Mexican flag shows the eagle sitting atop of the nopal, the cactus, and the snake in its talon to show the significance of what the Aztec Empire means to Mexican history. Thank you so much for listening, and this concludes my presentation. This section shows my resources and references that were used to make this presentation. Thank you.